What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Event Masters. This is the show where every single week we take you on a transformational journey from event prof to event master. We do so by bringing in some of the biggest and baddest friends I have on this planet to tell you everything they know. This week's no different. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the show, Event Masters. You need to listen to this if you want to throw bigger and better events. Learn how to monetize and land bigger racks. Yeah, this is where you can learn how to do that. Event Masters.
Woo! Okay, episode. I have no idea. I'm so horrible at being a host of my own show, but I believe it's episode 25, folks. Episode 25. That means we're a quarter of a decade in. We should have done something bigger. I'm blaming Kelsey that we didn't hype this show up a little more. Completely her fault. For those of you, so let me know in the comments, say hashtag bad Kelsey, because we should have totally celebrated this episode way more. But anyways, kidding, guys. Totally my fault, being as this is kind of the thing I do every week. So anyways, okay, let's get some housekeeping out of the way before we bring up the guest that I foreshadowed in the intro. But as always, every single week, I got to ask you guys just to do it. But there's some new stuff this week. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow us on all social medias, but it's no longer the first handle. It's no longer the second handle. We might have had a couple handles in there in between, but I think we've settled on it. So it's at The Real Event Masters everywhere on social media. I hope so, at least, but it will be if it isn't. But today is all about virtual events and intention and ROI and how many different ways can you say ROI and how many different meanings does it have? And I'm excited to dive into that today. But real quick, make sure you are texting us Event Masters at 407-214-5335. And I promise you on August 3rd, 4th, and 5th, you will find out why. I have not told you guys it's coming, but I can promise you it is. So make sure you're in our text community because I promise you you're going to like what I got for you on August 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So with that being said, I've rambled along enough. The show's not about me. Today, it's all about one of our good friends here at ViewStub, Yinka Freeman. So I would love to go ahead and bring her up and let's get this show started.
Hello.
Yinka, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am dandy. I seriously cannot complain. It's been a day where I'm just recording all day, but I've been getting to talk to a lot of really cool people, so I am not mad.
Awesome.
And first and foremost, just major shout outs on some of the coolest hair we've had on the show. Okay?
Purple. Thank you.
I love it. Is it part of your brand?
I mean,
or did you just like a couple weeks ago, like, well, let's go purple?
At this point, it is part of my brand. This was my COVID hair. So it's been going on 2 years strong now, and I feel like if I do anything else, no one's gonna know who I am anymore.
Exactly, so. You would just disappear amongst everybody else. So, anyways, with that being said, talking about your brand and who you are and where you come from and stuff, I would love for you to take a quick couple minutes and things like that to tell us who Yinka Freeman is, what you do, what your company is, how you help people.
Cool. Sure. Well, hello out there. Yinka Freeman. I am an independent event planner. I own a company called Triple Pocket Events. It's based out of San Diego, but I am truly nationwide. I'm actually in Maine right now. Shout out to Lubec, Maine. But I do all kinds of events, sporting, corporate, social, virtual, live, hybrid, all of them.
All of those cool buzzwords.
Yeah, all of the cool stuff. My background is in hospitality and event production. I started out, like so many of us, as a server, a hostess, bartender. I did catering for a while, and then I kind of worked my way up into hotel management, catering management, group sales for a hotel. So I've done it all. I've done it all. I've done a lot. It's helped me be where I am right now, and that's why Triple Pocket is so well-rounded and a full service, because I've done so many that I just put all my skills now in my company.
You got to use them all. You got them. You might as well use them, or else the whole saying you lose it. So, well, that's super cool. So you say you do a lot of variations of events, sports, socials, birthdays. I'm sure conferences. I've seen what you've done over here in ViewStub, and so I got to ask, just out of curiosity, what kind of industry or vertical is your favorite? There's got to be one, because we all love events, but I promise you, I'll never touch a wedding. So.
Okay, well, I will never touch a wedding as well. I have put in my time. I did my time. I did weddings. They were awesome when I did them. No more. Gosh, you know what? Actually, I really like planning corporate networking events, happy hours, team building, things like that. I love planning those because it is so interesting to me to see different departments or different groups come together in a setting and just have to figure themselves out. Like when Ted from accounting has to talk to Johnny from marketing, and they're two very different personalities, but they have to come together to build book bags for kids or something like that. It is so interesting to me to see that interaction take place.
We should do that. Kelsey, make a note. We should do that on our own team. I want to put like our sales rep with our head developer and see how that goes.
Two most extreme personalities, put them together and let them do something in an event setting.
Tell them to solve a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
I don't think that wouldn't even be funny. They'd be still doing it next year. So I love it. So now let's get into what we titled this show, and what we were talking about right before we popped on here is this whole ROI versus ROI. So I say that, and they're two different things, people. ROI and ROI, they're two different things, and we're going to break it down. So let's start there, Yinka. What is the first ROI, and then what is your version of ROI?
So the first ROI, my friends, is return on investment. You're going to hear that a lot. Everyone's going to talk about it. Return on investment. The second ROI is, in my eyes, return on intention. How do you intentionally plan events that for a goal? How do you intentionally make sure your attendees are having the experience that you want them to have? That's what I talk about when I say the other ROI, return on intention.
I would say, and this is me not even knowing your entire strategy here, I would venture to guess that your version of ROI has to come first before you get the other ROI.
100%.
Everyone's got it backwards. They're trying to be like, how can I make money when they haven't even become intentional about making money? So with that being said, then I would love to know where you start when you're coming into planning events with clients, planning your own events. Let's say you are doing one of those corporate events that you like to do. Where do you start in that intentionality process?
So I have actually created for myself, and it's still a work in progress, but I call it a return on intention optimizer. I'm going to share this post this podcast as well. I'll share the link with everyone so you can start using it as well. Knowledge sharing is always the best.
That's right.
But it is basically some questions that I sit and ask myself, or I sit and ask my client. What is your end goal? Maybe it's not just making money for the event. Maybe your end goal is to have people solve something at the end of your event. Maybe your end goal is to have people feel a certain way at the end of an event, right? I came up with the whole idea actually about a webinar on return on investment. As I was listening, I was moderating it, and as I was listening to everyone talk about investment, they just kept saying, you have to tell a story, you have to be intentional. If you're doing a virtual fundraiser, what is your host like? What words do they say to get people to donate more? And I'm just like there listening, and I'm like, it sounds like this is actually about intention. It's really return on intention, not return on investment. And so that's how I got all of that kind of swirling in my brain. And then I started thinking about myself as an attendee. I love music festivals. I go all the time. And one of the most memorable music festivals I went to is called Summer Splash. My friend and I were in line. We were hot. It was Vegas in July. And we're just like, oh man, come on. And the minute we walked into Wet Republic, Steve Aoki was Your Sky Full of Stars, that was playing. They had misters, they had like people right there. And it was just the ambiance of us just stepping in. In my brain, I was like, this was intentional. Someone sat and thought about what happens when that one guest walks in right there to this entrance. What do we want them to feel? That feeling has stayed with me. I think it's like 6 years now, and I still talk about it. That's what I mean.
That is the definition of intentionality. And I think that's the most overlooked thing, because I like I said, or for those watching this and listening on the podcast, I've never met Yinka before this, but we've come together, and like I've always told you guys, like there's commonalities between event masters themselves and how they approach things and things like that. So when she's saying return on an intention, I've worded it the same. Well, I've worded it different, but it's the exact same things. You guys have heard me on this show say the why plus the who equals the what, when, and where, right? So what she's saying here is she broke down the end goals. It sounds like a lot from what I'm hearing from you, Yinka. It's you got to know where you're going before you try to get there. And I would imagine before you ever spend $1 on misters, you got to come up with the idea and why you would spend money on that mister and what's it going to do? What kind of experience factor is it? And I think that's a big thing. I think it's all about details. And I think that's really, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always believed that that's really what makes the experience. Like those little things.
100%.
You remember a mister from probably 100,000 person music festival, Steve Aoki, but you remember the mister as you walked in, right? There's something to be said about that.
I agree 100%. Those tiny little details, I think us as planners or event masters as well, it's just like, oh yeah, just put misters right there. But that tiny little detail created a completely different feeling to that attendee. To me, to my friends that were in line, like it just made everything perfect.
And it's not doing things just to do them, right? If they had zero thought into it, they maybe would have just put the mister up and hopefully it worked and there's no intention behind it. But it sounds to me like when you go into a planning process, you're starting with the end goal in mind. And that's where you focus, right? Because until I get you there, you can't get there, right? So why do you think that is though so important? Because a lot of planners don't do this, and it baffles me. So why is it so important? And then I'm curious, as follow-up to that, and I think they're almost the same answer, how has it helped you have more success in your event space and your clients, and how has it helped them become more successful?
I think it's important. Well, first of all...
Sorry, that was a lot of questions in one, so I apologize.
That's okay. This past year and however many months we're in the pandemic now, everyone has come to realize the importance of events, right? And everyone has come to realize that an event just isn't a big party. There are many types of events out there. Shocking, right?
The party.
Not just a party. Because of that, I feel that being intentional from the very, very, very beginning creates events that live on and on and on and on and on, and events that people don't forget. I just told you a story about an event I went to 6 years ago, and so to me, when I plan events, I don't want my attendees to forget about that event. I want them to talk about that for years and years and years to come. I want that to be the standard for them, that they judge all other events they go to.
Thank you.
So that's why it's important to be intentional from the very, very, very beginning, because you're really curating an experience for every single attendee. If there's 1,000 people there, you're creating 1,000 experiences. That's why. I've forgotten the second part of your question. I don't remember. I got excited about the first part.
This is the most fun I've had on a podcast since I think Sheldon Rumor. I done forgot my second question. No, I didn't. How has being intentional and starting where you start with the reverse engineering, how has that helped you and or your clients become more successful?
So I have gotten so many, especially in this virtual space, because virtual has made the audiences so much broader, right? So I have gotten so many more clients from events than I have ever done before, because I'm being intentional, because I'm trying to create an experience. You don't know who your attendees will be, right? Especially if you're not because I do events for my clients. I don't put on events for myself. So sometimes I'm not preview to every single attendee and what their role is or what they're doing. But what happens is I'm like, all right, I'm going to create this event. It's going to be good. I want my guests to experience this, this, and this. And then what ends up happening is there's some other potential client that was like, wow, I really liked what you did. I really liked the experience I had. I want to talk to you about a webinar, a thing, or whatever it is. And that's been, honestly, for the past 2 years, I have not done any sort of sales, like anything. It's just been a very natural process. But because I am so intentional about how my guests are, what the experience is, it just naturally happens that someone has a good time. They want to know who the planner is. They want to know the business model. And then they come in, they're like, plan my event too.
So just as for you watching this, folks, you're getting a little sneak peek into what we'll be talking about next week at our event, because she's talking about intentionality when it comes to an event. But what I heard in that whole statement is because of that intentionality from an event standpoint, from the attendee, that intentionality is also growing legs into the sales of your business as well. So because you take reverse engineering and creating experiences serious for your clients, more clients come from it.
Yep.
So it sounds a lot like, okay, if you start here for your client, then deliver, because it all depends on how well you actually deliver that intention.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're seeing success in your business. So not only does it help your event, helps your business.
Correct.
See how that works, people? See how that works? So now let's get a little bit moving into, and actually I just want to shout this out real quick because I know you know Elaine. So she has ever since you have joined us here at ViewStub, she has nothing but good words to say about you. So that's why I was looking so much forward to this conversation. And then Kelsey called you a peach. She seemed like a peach to talk to. And I was like, I can't wait for this conversation. But anyways, I just wanted to highlight that because I know Elaine's been a big fan of yours, and that's exactly why you're here now. So kudos to Elaine. I know you guys work well together. So moving on, I'm curious now, with that intentionality and you being and becoming what I would call an expert in the virtual world, let's break this down a little bit. We get a lot of questions here about networking and engagement and production value and all those things that actually make up a virtual event. So we'll start maybe with the production value and go into kind of, I'm curious, how can people become more intentional about production value in general and not just throw a camera up, right? Or maybe they think that's enough, right? Maybe there's something above that you can give us from your world about production value and intentionality.
So when I think about production value and intentionality, I immediately start with the platform. There's 500 billion platforms out there, and there are more and more and more coming on the market. But I really think about the platform. How is the platform gonna serve my audience in a way, in the production value, in the way that I want it to serve them? Do they not need really any production value? Is that's not the point, that's not the goal? Cool, then go with the platform that you don't really need to do that. But if you are wanting to get some certain feelings out of your audience, production value, the colors you choose, the wordings you choose. Do you have a hashtag in the little corner for social media? All of that helps with the production value, and all of that can be really intentional. There are some platforms out there that I love because some of my clients are like, it's been 2 years, we haven't done a live event, we're always at Hyde at the Bellagio, and now we can't be there. Then I hear that, and I hear, My intention for this event is to create the feeling that the audience is at Hyde at the Bellagio right now. Okay, that means there's certain platforms that are not going to be able to do that. I'm probably going to use a platform where I have to have a designer build out Hyde at the Bellagio and people can walk themselves through, right? But then you're intentionally then breaking what your client said. We are always at the Bellagio. You take that and you break it down. And how do you intentionally create a production value where they really do feel like they're? So maybe you're having lights. maybe there's a super dope DJ, that maybe used to DJ for them. Bring them into that virtual space with you. All of that helps, and all of that creates a feeling for your attendees, for your client, for your guests.
Yeah, no, that perfect. Literally the answer. Every time I don't know why I always get surprised when I'm on the show that people answer things how I would. I don't know why, but like it still surprises me that people answer questions correctly. Don't know why, because I bring on really qualified humans. So, anyways, production value. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like understanding the importance of it. There are webinar style events that don't need a 4-camera setup with 4K shooting and crazy internet speeds and all that. You can get away with that, but you got to know the outcome and what you're trying to get out of the event. And I like how you said there's a little intentionality things that you can do. And this right here, I bet you can agree with. Because I think that's a very huge part of it, is not just the intention, but the creativity behind how you achieve that goal, right? Correct. So you said something about like social media handle down in the corner, right? Mm-hmm. Just doing that with like no plan or anything about that in the corner. Like, why would you put it in the corner? But if you're intentional about, let's say the outcome is to get them to engage on Instagram and tag you and take a picture of the screen and tag you on it and things like that, that's being intentional. And then that's why you made that decision. Correct. To put that little thing in the corner. So I wanted to break out an example of that. And then now I want to kind of move into, I think, one of the biggest, hottest topics that no event planner has, I don't think, really agrees on yet. And that's this whole idea of virtual networking and how we can get better at it, but maybe it's not getting better at it. It's maybe getting more intentional about the outcome. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but I'd love to hear your take on it.
Virtual networking. I am a fan. I'm a fan of in-person networking. I'm a fan of virtual. I'm just a fan of networking in general. I feel like as an event professional, you are on an island by yourself if you do not network and collaborate with different people. I personally feel like it stifles my creativity, because there are so many amazing event professionals out there that are willing to share their knowledge or their creativity or just their viewpoints. And I freaking love that, because it helps me and my creative juices start going. When I'm hearing like Dylan's like, oh, I did an event and we did this and the lights and the 4K, I'm like, what? And then I start thinking too, wow, that's really cool. How can I use what Dylan just said for not even like steal it, but how can I repurpose it or make it work for my event? And to me, that's what networking is about, right? It is a system where you share knowledge and you bounce ideas off of each other. COVID has made my virtual networking on point. Like I love it. I love it. I have made so many more connections and so many international connections. And I love that, because people in different places do events differently. And it's made my knowledge base so much broader when I can sit down on Zoom and talk to someone in Japan about what they're doing. And then we start talking about it. And then we start collaborating on an event and we do something together. I have nothing else to say and seen.
So I have a question, because I have a very firm stance on virtual networking at virtual events. So I'm curious. I'm always curious to hear it from other people, because I'm not closed-minded. I just have my own opinion. So I have a belief that says virtual networking, how it's being done now at events and how organizers put them together, is not even that effective for the attendees they're trying to use, because they're cramming it together in 5-minute speed networking sessions in the middle of in the middle of a software that the attendee has to learn. And then they're like bouncing between, and then the AI is not working. So I'm getting developers when I need sales reps. And I've seen just a shift. So my mentality on this, and I'm curious to hear it from your point of view, and maybe you have an answer that will just shatter my whole philosophy here. But there's a big notion around, it's why we do EventMASTERs for around Event Next and stuff. I have a firm belief that says networking and relationship building takes more than 5 minutes at an event. And so I like the idea of building networking around before, during, after, long after, even longer after opportunities for my attendees, not just at the event. So I'm curious if I'm crazy about that, how you're rolling with it, how you help your clients have their attendees network better. I'd love to hear from someone else that's not me.
You are not crazy.
Well,
you are not crazy.
Maybe not on this topic.
Not on this topic. Not what you just said. Not crazy. Yes, I think when it comes to virtual event, networking at virtual events, it's a very last thought. It can seem like it is a very last thought. Let's just throw in 5 minutes and have them talk to each other. Yes. When I do virtual networking at an event, I do not make it 5 minutes. I actually make it up about 30-ish minutes. It is not just, hey, go meet someone. I actually do activities. So whether it's a scavenger hunt, and when I say scavenger hunt, I do a lot of like attendee scavenger hunts. So what I'll do is sometimes the networking is not on the first day. Sometimes networking is on the second or third day of depending on how long the event is. Because what I do is I go to the sessions. I listen to what the speakers have said, what other attendees have said, and then I pull from that and I make it into a scavenger hunt. So for instance, it would be, if it's a 3-day summit, right? Let's say it's on trees. I don't even know, trees. So I would be listening to what the speakers are saying about all the different trees, who's climbed this tree before. And then I pull from that and I make that part of the scavenger hunt. So find someone who's climbed an elm tree in the past 2 days. And people go around and they find each other. So intentional, right? I could have just easily done 5 minutes at the beginning of the conference, go talk to each other, but I choose not to. I choose to intentionally wait to day 3 where I've learned about everyone and I have ideas and things that I can pull from to then make the networking intentional and not just go find someone, go meet someone. You create an activity around it. So yes, I understand what you're saying about the 5 minutes, but there are ways that you can really have networking in a virtual event that has purpose behind it. And you can take that on, like you said, you can take that, you can create Facebook communities or Facebook groups, or you can even build your own event community where you then match people. Oh, these 2 people climbed M trees. Let's have them connect further outside of this event. Another thing I like to do is actually before the event is do a networking session, because what happens is prior to them actually logging on to the actual event, they've already had a chance to bounce around the platform, fix all of the tech issues that they might have, get to know each other as well before they actually enter the true event the next day or 2 days after or whatever it is. And you can still build networking games, activities throughout the entire event too.
So there's 2 ways I could go with this. Either I'm going to the wrong events, or I'm going to events done by the wrong organizer. Because that's what I heard, was because there was a lack of intention, right? The networking wasn't done. It was like, I think you hit a nail on the head. People throw in networking because they think it has to be there. Right? I'd rather you not put it in the event if you're not going to actually execute it properly and have goals and outcomes that you want your attendees to have, and then build an experience that lets them achieve that outcome.
Yep.
This is something I actually want to bring up, and I think it's 100% right, is hearing intention and things like that. But the intention, as the planner, right? starts in discovery. And I don't think a lot of us event planners, now I'm a question asking fool, but I think it does start in the discovery and your question asking and your ability to get out the client's vision, because most of the time they don't know what they want. They have an idea, but it takes the experts like you, like me, to ask good questions to bring it out of them.
Yeah,
right?
Honestly, sometimes it can feel like a therapy session with me. So how do you feel about that? But just like you, I like to ask a lot of questions, but I also like to ask a lot of questions about feeling, like the senses. What do you want? How do you want to feel? How do you want your attendees to feel? What do you want them to see? What do you want them to hear? It's therapy session, but you get to pull those little nuggets out of your clients that you can then say, okay, I heard she wanted to feel elated when they first logged on. So maybe that means when that attendee first clicks on, there's really bubbly, happy, fun music, or you have a host who is just like, woohoo, we are here, we're doing it, and it's super exaggerated,
You don't live on the other side of the camera?
Exactly.
No, and I think that it's a huge point. And I think a lot of people don't in this industry, for some reason, don't ask enough questions. And so I got a couple things I want to bring out from the comments here. And then I have one last question for you before I let you run and you go off planning more intentional events. So this is actually from our own team, but then I am curious, how did you get into the event business, Yinka? Was it that event you went to 6 years ago, or were you in this industry before?
I was. So I know I look like a little baby, but I've been in the industry for over 15 years. So I got into events really through the means of hospitality and hotels. I worked at a lot of hotels, did lots of catering sales, group sales, and then the job that I had that I knew this is the industry that I really truly belong in was I used to work for the Rock and Roll Marathon. I did their VIP program, and so I got to travel and put on VIP events, and I did that for about 2 years. And after that, I was like, done. This is it. This is where I'm staying.
Sold. Yeah. Sold. I like it. Well, look, Yinka, you are getting all types of love today. I feel kind of lost. I feel kind of lost that I get none. It's cool. No worries, people. I don't know. What am I, chopped liver?
You two are amazing, Dylan.
I appreciate that. My own team today, we put out a remote team post, and I wasn't even in it. I feel like I'm just a second-class citizen at this company. Anyway, well, look, I want to end this on a really good high note because you have been partners with us here at ViewStub for a little while now, and I would be shamed in my own company if I didn't ask this and get the answer out of you. But I'm really curious. For those of you who don't know, Yinka is one of our agency partners, and she's been doing plenty of events with us and having good success. And it goes back to that platform comment she made. Right, she's choosing platforms that are optimized for the client. So my curiosity, everybody's curiosity that's watching this, I would love to hear it in your own words of why ViewStub was a really good partner for you. And we'll leave it at that. Good Lord, Friday brain. So I'm just curious, why was ViewStub the choice?
I will say it honestly started with my my conversation with Josh. Shout out to Josh. I love Josh. I love Elaine. I love Josh.
Elaine's cool, but Josh?
No, Elaine's cool. I love Josh. He just walked me through the platform so well in a way that I could understand the features and how to use the features for a lot of different clients. Like I said, right? I don't just do one type of event, which means the clients are all over this space. But that's what I really like about ViewStub is I can use it for so many different events. I've done a 3-day queer film festival on there. I have done a virtual museum tour with the Museum of Contemporary Art in Miami on ViewStub. I've done a 72-hour improv festival on ViewStub.
You're a trooper for doing that on any software.
Oh
I'll
my
tell you
gosh,
that.
like, woo, that was a beast. Let me tell you about that. But it allows me to do so many different types of events. And I love all of the features too. Because it's like the donation feature is amazing for my nonprofit clients, or even just like the film festival or things like that, where it's a group of people that get together and they're really putting their energy and just asking. The in chat feature, it's just, do you want me to keep going?
I'm sure we all do. I'm just
I feel like registration is very, very important in the data that is collected. And I love that analytics portion of the dashboard too, that I could easily share what is currently happening, where we are at sales with my clients. And and to me, it's very easy to say, this is where we are, this is what we need to do, and show them. Because a lot of times clients, they're not really that interested. They want to know, right? But they're not interested in every little nitty gritty. But I can just easily show them that dashboard and they're like, all right, this is where we are. So I love it. I think it's great.
Well, we appreciate it. I could let you go all day. But so what I took from that was, it was the people, Josh, Elaine, now myself that we've met you, Kelly, the entire development team that you never got to meet, but they built all those features you just laid out. So the people behind it, and then the flexibility for someone like you who does do a lot of events. Like me, I focus on one niche now. But with you going in different directions and having clients, the flexibility of the software allows you to do that. And then the simplicity of the software. And then combined, simplicity is one thing, but can you be robust but simple? And I think we've done a really good job, and it sounds like that's what I heard that out of it. So I can't thank you enough, because we're going to clip that out if you don't mind, and maybe use that somewhere. But anyways, Yinka, I always end every single show with two things. Obviously, where can we find you? What can we do to learn more about Triple Pocket events? And then what is the one thing you would love to leave this community with? And not forever, because we're having you back, and whether you like it or not. And so, but until the one thing that you want to leave this community with until next time.
Okay. So you can find me on all social media, Facebook, Instagram. My business is at Triple Pocket Events on both Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. And then if you want to follow me personally, both my Facebook and Instagram are at Yinka Genevieve. So YINKAJENEVIEVE.
We will put that in the chat. I don't expect any of you guys to get that spelling, because I lost it after the E. So we'll put that in the chat. And so now that they can find you, what's the one thing you want to leave them with?
What is the one thing that I want to leave? Get a good support system around you. Get a good event network support system around you. These past, almost 2 years now have been a crazy, crazy time for me. And it was really the relationships that I built and the foundation and that supportive, collaborative, collective, lots of words, but that system that I built around me, that really helped me get through this crazy time of not knowing where to go. But once I figured that out, I had people to bounce ideas off of and collaborate with. So yes, that's my one thing. Get a really awesome, good, strong support system around you.
I like it. And that is one of the, I would say, verticals we really want to hone in on and educate on and train on. So I'm glad you said it, is not only your craft and your skill set and, doing better events, but we focus on the business, as you guys know, with our event coming next week, and then the relationship building and the networking. I think event people, weirdly, we spend too much helping other people network, and sometimes forget that we have to do it. And so I think when you up your network, everything else works, your business and your craft, because you get better humans to work with and things like that. So
100%.
definitely glad that that's what came out of your mouth for the one, because that's exciting that you said it once again. So with that being said, Yinka, I think we're good. I think we've come to the end of the show. I think this is the time where I have to circle back and just let everybody know. I know my team's watching. Somebody in the chat put the link for next week's event, where we'll get to chat all about everything to grow and scale your event business Okay. And we're going to bring you, I think we might bring you on part 2 because this is just part 1. But if you're interested,
I'm interested.
you got a slot for part 2. But anyways, folks, make sure you guys are registering for that event next week. We are putting out tons and tons and tons of content. We haven't even got started yet. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, and following, and all those other words that you do on all the softwares and platforms at The Real Event Masters. Make sure you get the Spotify and Apple Music podcast, soon to be Amazon. I said that for the last 10 weeks, but it's coming. So eventually I'll be right. And I think that's all I got. Make sure you text us, join the community. Make sure you follow this lovely lady right here. And the last thing I want you to do is just show back up on Friday and tune in for another episode. So see you guys next week.
Bye. Thank you for having me on here.